She stole my work, mocked me in front of her inner circle, and tried to erase me from the industry until I flipped the script and exposed her in a way she never anticipated and couldn't control. When I was 28, I landed what sounded like a dream gig, personal assistant to a social media megastar. And not just some random with a blue checkmark. I'm talking 4 million followers, brand deals galore, the kind of clout that could make or break reputations with a single cryptic caption. Let's call her Lexi. Working for Lexi was like signing up for a lifestyle boot camp designed by someone who'd never had to carry their own grocery bags. My days were split. 12 hours glued to her side, the other 12 on call, which really meant she could text me at 2 a.m. because she forgot what time her lash fill was. I was exhausted in a way caffeine couldn't fix, but over time, Lexi came to trust me, maybe too much. Eventually, she started letting me edit her photos. Slimmer waist, smoother skin, brighter eyes. Real-life Photoshop at her fingertips. Then one day, she tossed me what she claimed was a rare opportunity. "I'm launching a cookbook," she said, "and I want you to coordinate a gathering. All my influencer friends, big brands. You'll even get a small bonus, and you can actually come." I should have known something was off right then. Lexi never offered perks, not unless there was something in it for her. But curiosity got the better of me. I'd always wondered what these influencer get-togethers were like, part exclusive soiree, part jungle hierarchy. I agreed. That was my first mistake. Turns out Lexi's grand cookbook didn't even exist. She had no recipes, no outline, not even a name. That small task she assigned? It became a full-blown project from scratch. I had 4 weeks to write 100 pages. Recipes, layout designs, photos, her bio, the whole thing. I was operating on fumes, pounding back cold brew like it was medicine. I wasn't just drowning in deadlines. I was disappearing into them. And still, she took all the credit. Picture this. We're sitting in a spa, getting pedicures, me scrolling through copyright-free, gluten-free dessert ideas, and Lexi's on speakerphone telling someone how she came up with every single recipe. I bit my tongue so hard it nearly split in two. I told myself it was part of the game. This is just how it works. I didn't believe that, but it helped me sleep. Kind of. Then came the week of the event. That's when Lexi's behavior turned weird. Tense. Short-tempered. Especially with me. But whenever I asked if something was wrong, she just flashed that plastic smile and said the cookbook looked great. The day before the event, though, that's when she flipped. She called me screaming, ordering me to quintuple the amount of food I'd planned. 5 times the amount. Less than 24 hours to go. "Art, if you can't figure it out," she said, "you're fired." So I figured it out. I stayed up all night cooking. Spent $650 of my own money hiring a private chef to help. I didn't sleep. Not even for a second. By the time I showed up at the venue, I hadn't rested in 32 hours. I dragged in trays of food, packed in a rented minivan I paid for myself. And what was my warm welcome? Lexi yelling because I was only 6 hours early. I didn't have the energy to argue. I muttered an apology and got to work. The next 6 hours, I set everything up. Food, decorations, tables, while Lexi tried on dresses in front of a full-length mirror like she was modeling for a fragrance ad. By the time guests started arriving, I was physically present, but mentally somewhere on a desert island, sipping hallucinated margaritas. At first, everything seemed to be going well. People were laughing, drinking, praising the food. Then Lexi struck. Low. She and 2 of her fellow influencer friends were standing around, complimenting her cooking, when she looked directly at me and said, "You know, I asked Claire to make me an omelet once, and she almost burned down my kitchen." Cue laughter. I was too tired to respond, so I gave a half-hearted chuckle. Big mistake. Bracy, she took that as permission. Bracy. She even called me once, Lexi went on, asking how to turn the oven on. Can you believe that? More laughter. Some were doubled over. I became the night's punchline. The stupid assistant, who couldn't cook, couldn't think, couldn't do anything right. Ah. I was going to let it go. Ah. Really. I was ready to grit my teeth and survive the evening. But then she called me an idiot. Loud enough for the whole room to hear. Still. Just joking, of course. That's when I saw my moment. "Lexi," I said, keeping my voice calm, "since you're such an incredible chef, I actually prepared something special for you." She blinked, smiled, confused. I disappeared into the kitchen, returned with a chef's hat, and placed it ceremoniously on her head. Some of you may have noticed one of the desserts from the book isn't on the tables. That's because Lexi wanted to cook it herself, live. The room went quiet for a heartbeat, then exploded in cheers. Ha! And Lexi? Well, she couldn't exactly back out without ruining the image she'd worked so hard to cultivate. So she marched into that kitchen. Dozens of cameras on her, live streams rolling, ready to prove to the world that she was the genius behind every recipe. What happened next? Well, let's just say karma came dressed in an apron. Lexi strutted into the kitchen with the enthusiasm of someone who had no idea what they were walking into. Cameras were already pointed at her, some handheld, some mounted on tripods. Her friends followed close behind, phones at the ready, hyping her up like this was the climax of a celebrity cooking show instead of a poorly staged charade. She didn't even glance at me, just walked up to the counter, rolled up the sleeves of her designer blouse, and stared at the ingredients like they were riddles from a logic exam. She picked up an egg and immediately dropped it. Then, in what might be the most confusing culinary decision I've ever seen, she picked up a whisk using only her thumb and forefinger, like it was contaminated, and started waving it around in the air. For a second, it was kind of funny in a sitcom disaster sort of way, but then she tried to melt butter by placing the stick directly inside the oven. That's when the crowd went silent. Every influencer in that room, every YouTuber, lifestyle blogger, and smoothie bowl enthusiast saw it at the same time. Lexi wasn't a chef. She wasn't even a decent home cook. She was a brand built on smoke, mirrors, and Facetune. When a puff of flour burst up into her face, she snapped. She threw the whisk, stomped her foot like a toddler denied candy, and shouted, "I can't do this! I'm not a chef! This isn't funny! Stop laughing!" But the laughter didn't stop. People were covering their mouths, shoulders shaking. One guy was filming from behind the kitchen island, catching every second in crisp HD. Her moment had gone viral before it was even over. And for a second, I thought, this is it, I actually won. Then Lexi turned to me. "You!" she screeched, jabbing an acrylic nail in my direction. "This is your fault. I'm suing you." And just like that, all eyes were on me. Before I could react, she grabbed my arm and yanked me toward the back hallway. Her grip was tight, angry, and her smile had vanished entirely. Once we were alone behind the kitchen doors, she dropped the act completely. "What the hell was that?" she spat, mascara smudging at the corners of her eyes. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my tone steady. "That was you showing off your culinary expertise. Or lack thereof." She slammed her palm on the counter, rattling a bowl. "You have no idea what you've done. You humiliated me in front of everyone." I shook my head. "No, Lexi. You humiliated yourself by pretending to write a cookbook you didn't even help create. You can't crack an egg. You can't cook. You lied. And tonight, everyone saw that." Her face twisted into something almost unrecognizable. "You're fired. Get your crap and get out of my house." "Fine," I said, untying my apron. "But just so we're clear, I'm taking my cookbook files with me. All of them. And you'll be receiving an invoice for the hundreds of unpaid overtime hours you never acknowledged." "You'll get nothing," she hissed. "I'll make sure you never work in this industry again. Who do you think people will believe? Me, with millions of fans, or you, a nobody?" And you know what? Maybe she was right. A few weeks earlier, that threat would have sent me spiraling. I might have cried. I might have begged. But something had shifted inside me. Sleep deprivation? Maybe. Pent-up resentment? Definitely. But mostly, it was the realization that I had nothing left to lose, except my dignity. And I wasn't giving that up. "You can keep the spotlight," I said. "Keep the fake life. But I'm done letting you erase me." I turned to leave, but she grabbed me again, digging her nails into my arm. "Give me your phone, now." "What?" "I know you have photos. Proof of everything. That cookbook is my intellectual property." I couldn't help but laugh. "You mean the one I wrote, photographed, and formatted?" "Everything you made while working for me belongs to me," she snapped. "It's in the contract." I pulled away from her grip. "I'm done, Lexi." But Lexi wasn't. She lunged for my bag, where my phone was tucked in an outer pocket. I backed up fast, but she caught the strap, and in the struggle, a glass mixing bowl went flying off the counter and shattered on the floor with a loud crash. That sound must have flipped a switch in her, because suddenly her hands were out, nails pointed at my face like weapons. I instinctively raised my arms to block her, but not before one of those razor-sharp acrylics sliced across my cheek. The sting came first, then the warmth. Blood started to trickle. And right on cue, the kitchen door swung open. Standing there were half a dozen guests. Some familiar, some not. But their expressions were all the same. Stunned. Leo and Skylar were at the front, eyes wide, mouths slightly open. "What the hell is going on?" Skylar asked, phone still recording. Instantly, Lexi's entire demeanor flipped. She stumbled backward, blinking like a confused soap opera actress. She attacked me," she said, tears springing to her eyes with suspicious speed. "I caught her trying to steal the cookbook, and she hit me." Nobody looked convinced. I was bleeding, not her. The broken bowl was between us. "That's not what happened," I said quietly, pressing a towel to my cheek. "Lexi's just upset because I revealed the truth. She didn't write the cookbook. I did." The room fell completely silent. And then, Lexi's voice rang out, trembling with rage. "Get out of my house, all of you." Party's over. Guests started shuffling out awkwardly, grabbing coats, avoiding eye contact. I grabbed my bag, checked for my phone, and made my way to the door. Behind me, Lexi was already weaving a new story to the last few stragglers, painting me as the unhinged assistant who cracked under pressure. But for once, I wasn't listening. Outside, the night air hit my face like a reset button. I stood there for a moment, letting it all sink in. The blood, the broken glass, the ridiculous circus of it all. Then I heard someone call out, "Hey, wait up!" I turned to see Leo jogging toward me, Skylar right behind him. A couple other guests trailed them. Leo glanced at my cheek and winced. "Are you okay?" I gave a small shrug. "I've had better Thursdays." "You were incredible back there," Skylar said. "And I got the whole thing on video." For the first time in hours, I exhaled. Turns out, Lexi didn't ignore the demand letter. She weaponized it. Within a week, Leo received a sharply worded response from her lawyer. The kind of guy whose email signature probably had more awards than most people have degrees. According to him, I was the one in breach of multiple agreements. Lexi, he claimed, had grounds to countersue me for defamation, breach of confidentiality, and, quote, interference with brand relationships. Oh, and they wanted me to sign a retroactive NDA immediately or face aggressive legal action. Reading that email felt like being dunked in ice water. The panic was real. I couldn't afford to fight a lawsuit. I didn't have the money, the energy, or the stomach to go up against someone with a team of lawyers and a mountain of influencer money. Leo didn't flinch. "This is what people like Lexi do. They count on intimidation to silence people like you. But here's the part she doesn't see coming. You're on stronger ground than she is." "Really?" I asked, skeptical. "Absolutely. Skylar's video, the guests who witnessed everything, the unpaid labor. We've got proof. She's got spin." I sat back, trying to breathe normally. "So what's our next move?" "Time to go higher," Leo said. "You told me she signed a cookbook deal, right?" "Yeah, she was obsessed with getting it ready for the launch party." "Well, if that's true, then it means she's not just lying to followers, she's lying to a publisher. And that changes things." The idea made my stomach twist. "You think they'll care? If they've invested money in a product that doesn't exist the way she claimed, they'll care. You have the real work, she has the name. Maybe there's a middle ground." I hesitated. I didn't want to work with Lexi in any capacity. But I also wanted credit for what I created. And, more than anything, I wanted to stop feeling like I had to hide in the shadows. "All right," I said finally. "Let's talk to them." Leo sent a message to the publisher's legal department, laying out the situation and offering to resolve things quietly. While we waited, I focused on getting my life back together, which turned out to be harder than expected. 2 promising job interviews evaporated after reference checks. One company ghosted me completely. The other politely told me they went another direction, after seeming thrilled on the phone just days earlier. I didn't need a crystal ball to know Lexi had gotten there first. She was playing the long game, and she was good at it, that wection. A week later, while helping Jordan at his bar to scrape together some cash, I got a call from Leo. "The publisher wants to meet, both of you." My stomach dropped. "Lexi too?" "Yeah. But they've seen the evidence, and they want to find a way forward." Monday. Their office. "Be ready." The weekend felt like an emotional training montage, minus the upbeat music. I rehearsed what I'd say, practiced staying calm. I wasn't going in for revenge. I was going in for the truth. Fuck all. On Monday morning, I pulled together the most professional outfit my second-hand wardrobe could produce. Leo met me outside the office building with a reassuring nod. "Fek sao." We stepped into the conference room. Lexi was already there. Fek sao. She looked perfect, as always. Hair curled, makeup flawless. But I noticed the tension in her jaw, the dark circles under her eyes that her concealer couldn't quite erase. She didn't look at me. Across from her sat a woman in a slate gray blazer, calm but sharp-eyed. Evelyn, the publisher. "Thank you both for coming," she said. "We have a situation that needs resolution before this cookbook can move forward." Lexi jumped in instantly, her voice all sugary venom. "There's no situation. This former assistant is trying to extort me because she was fired for incompetence." Evelyn held up a hand. "I've reviewed both sides, including the footage from your party. There are serious questions about the authorship of this cookbook." Lexi's lawyer leaned forward, smooth as silk. "My client never claimed to personally develop every recipe. As with most celebrity cookbooks, this was always intended to be a collaborative effort." I nearly choked on my water. The audacity. Evelyn nodded slowly. "Perhaps, but the signed contract states Lexi is the principal creator of the content. If that's not accurate, we have a problem." Leo stepped in. Calm, professional, lethal. "My client isn't here to ruin the project. She simply wants proper credit for her work, developing recipes, writing, photography, and to be compensated for hundreds of unpaid hours. That's all." Lexi scoffed. "She was paid to assist me. Everything she did belongs to me." Leo didn't blink. "Her employment agreement says nothing about intellectual property ownership. And unpaid overtime for duties far beyond her role, that's a legal liability." For nearly an hour, we volleyed arguments, facts, and legal fine print back and forth. Lexi kept her composure, barely, but her lawyer looked increasingly rattled. Finally, Evelyn asked for a break. Lexi stormed out with her attorney in tow. Evelyn looked at us. Off the record? I know she's lying. The video makes it obvious. But she's a valuable brand. The company's invested heavily in her. I leaned forward. So what are you suggesting? A compromise, she said. We credit you as the recipe developer and food photographer. Lexi remains the public face. You both sign non-disparagement agreements, and we pay you fairly. I thought about it. It wasn't perfect, but it was a real professional win. And most of all, it meant my name would be in print. I can live with that, I said. Evelyn smiled. Good. Now we just have to get Lexi to agree. After our off-the-record chat, Evelyn called Lexi and her lawyer back into the room. Lexi's posture had shifted. Less queen of the influencers, more cornered chess piece. Her lawyer, meanwhile, looked like he just realized he was playing a game someone else had already won. Evelyn restated the proposal like a calm referee. We're prepared to credit Claire as the recipe developer and food photographer inside the cookbook. Lexi remains the face of the brand. Both parties sign non-disparagement agreements, and fair compensation is provided. Lexi's face barely moved. But her voice? Ice cold. Absolutely not. I will not share credit with an assistant. Especially not one who tried to sabotage me. I didn't respond, I just watched. Studied her. This wasn't confidence. It was desperation wrapped in lip gloss. Evelyn kept her tone neutral. That's your choice, of course. But terminating the project would mean repaying your advance. And if this goes to court, your publisher will be required to disclose the disputed authorship. That becomes public record. Lexi turned to her lawyer. They whispered intensely. Her shoulders stiff, his tone clipped. I caught snippets. Unenforceable NDA proof in writing, can't guarantee outcome. It hit her then, I think. The truth was no longer optional. And her brand? It wouldn't survive another viral exposure, not one she couldn't spin. After several long beats, Lexi straightened her back and smiled the fakest smile I've ever seen. Fine, she said. She can have a line in the credits. Inside the book. Not on the cover. Leo calmly added. And payment for the hours worked. Lexi's eyes flicked toward me, glittering with something I couldn't quite name. Contempt? Resentment? Or maybe just the slow, painful realization that she couldn't erase me anymore. More negotiations followed. Dates, language, payment terms, but the skeleton of the agreement held. I would be credited. I would be paid. Lexi and I would sign NDAs agreeing not to publicly comment on the conflict. When the meeting wrapped up, Evelyn handed over the paperwork to be finalized by legal. We all stood. That's when Lexi drifted over to me, her lawyer hovering nearby, clearly nervous. She'd say something that could unravel everything. You think you've won, she said, her voice low and sugar-coated. But this is just the beginning. You have no idea how easy it is for someone like me to make your life miserable, without ever breaking a contract. I met her eyes and didn't look away. You know what? I used to be afraid of you. I used to think your followers gave you power. But I don't think about you anymore, Lexi. And that was true. Somewhere between the blood, the burnout, and the business cards, something inside me had snapped back into place. She didn't own my work. She didn't own me. As I turned to leave, I felt lighter. Not victorious. Exactly. Just done. Outside the office, Leo clapped me on the back. That went better than expected. Is it over? I asked, cautiously optimistic. Almost, he said. Once the paperwork clears and payment goes through, you're in the clear. Officially credited? Officially paid. I smiled, almost not believing it. Thank you. I couldn't have done this without you. Don't thank me yet, he said with a crooked grin. You still need a new place to live. He wasn't wrong. Lexi had locked me out of the apartment and half my things were still missing. But for once, I wasn't panicking. I'd faced worse and come out the other side. A few days later, the documents were signed, the check cleared, the NDA was official. The cookbook? Moving forward, with my name finally printed where it belonged. I didn't post about it. I didn't gloat. But when I held the finalized draft in my hands, when I saw recipe development and photography by Claire in crisp black type, I let myself cry. Skylar threw a small celebration. Just a handful of people who'd seen the whole mess unfold. Leo showed up in jeans for once. Jordan brought a pie. We toasted with cheap champagne and paper cups. The cookbook warrior! Skylar cheered, raising her glass. I laughed, a little embarrassed. It's just a credit. No, Leo said. It's proof. And it was. Proof that I'd created something real, even when someone else tried to take it. Proof that I could stand my ground, even against someone with 4 million followers and a PR team. I thought that once the deal was signed and my name was officially in the cookbook, Lexi would move on. She'd gotten to keep the spotlight, I'd gotten my credit. Clean break. But Lexi wasn't built for clean breaks. It started quietly. A passive-aggressive Instagram post, her in chef whites beside a celebrity chef, grinning like she hadn't melted butter in an oven last time she tried. The caption read, "Big news coming soon. Can't wait to share my culinary journey with the world. I felt sick. I called Skylar immediately. Please tell me this is a joke, I said. I wish, she replied. She landed a cooking show. Apparently the party disaster actually boosted her followers. Drama cells, I guess. My stomach twisted. But she can't cook. Doesn't matter. People forget. They just want a story to root for. 2 days later, I got a cease and desist letter from Lexi's lawyer, claiming I had violated our NDA. No proof, no details, just a vague threat. Leo responded immediately, calm as ever. This is textbook intimidation, he said. You've done nothing wrong. I tried to move forward. Finished my freelance recipes for a food magazine, launched a tiny blog to showcase my work, even started working part-time at a bakery just to keep the lights on. But Lexi didn't let up. One day I found a fake blog accusing me of stealing Lexi's recipes, complete with screenshots from my own recipe tests. The site disappeared within 24 hours, likely after Leo sent a takedown notice, but the damage was done. A few potential clients ghosted me. One politely declined to move forward. The whisper campaign was working. No, Chenya, I didn't cry. I just got angry. No, Chenya, I just got angry. She's trying to ruin me, I told Leo during an emergency coffee meeting. She's trying to outlast you, he said. But maybe it's time to stop reacting and start planning. That's when he gave me a look. What? I asked. Lexi's cooking show is her weak point. She's building a brand on a skill she doesn't have. That's a fragile foundation. What if we let it crumble? I blinked. You're suggesting sabotage? No, he said. I'm suggesting exposure. Quietly, carefully, from inside. 2 weeks later, I found myself sitting across from a woman named Evelyn. Not the publisher this time, but a producer Skylar connected me with. She worked with the company behind Lexi's new show. So you're the ghost behind the cookbook, she said, sipping a latte. I've heard whispers. And I've seen the video. I nodded. She really can't cook? She thinks dicing an onion means poking it with a fork. Evelyn smirked. Thought so. Here's what I'm offering. A food prep assistant slot. Behind the scenes. You help the food stylist. You keep your head down. But if things go sideways, the right people will be watching. It was risky. But it was also poetic. I agreed. On one condition. Lexi wouldn't know I was there. Filming started 3 weeks later. The first day, I wore my hair up, a mask, and stayed out of sight. Lexi breezed onto set like she owned the place. But I noticed the twitch in her hand when she saw the kitchen setup. Poor. The first dish was pasta. Easy enough, if you know what you're doing. She didn't. She forgot to stir the noodles, nearly started a fire with the burner, and asked where the oven boil button was. The director looked concerned. By the end of the day, we were 5 hours behind schedule, and the producers were meeting in hushed voices. Evelyn cornered me in the hallway. So it's true, she's hopeless. Yep. She looked thoughtful. What if we offer you a formal role? Recipe developer, food consultant. Lexi keeps the spotlight. You get the credit. I blinked. You think she'll go for that? She doesn't have a choice. The next morning, the show's executive team sat Lexi down. Calm voices. Firm terms. She would receive coaching, recipe support, and production adjustments. Or the network would pull the plug. She was furious, of course. When she saw me walk into the room, her face froze in shock, then curdled into something darker. You planned this, she hissed. Nope, I said. Just karma. And maybe a little competence. The new arrangement moved forward. I was officially the show's culinary producer. I trained Lexi in basic skills between shoots. Nothing fancy, just enough to fake her way through. It wasn't pleasant, but it was professional. And this time, my name was in the credits. Visible. Permanent. 3 episodes in, a food blog called me the quiet genius behind the dishes. I didn't even mind the label. Quiet was fine. Credited was better. Then came the offer. Another production, one with actual chefs, reached out. They needed a real recipe developer. Possibly even on-camera segments. I said yes without hesitation. On my last day at Lexi's show, she found me packing up. So, she said, trying to sound nonchalant, running off already? Moving on, I corrected. That's what careers do. You know, she said, inspecting her nails, you could have just asked for credit. Instead of causing all this drama. I stared at her. I did, Lexi. Repeatedly. You said I was just the help. She rolled her eyes. Well, good luck or whatever. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't even close. But it didn't matter. A year later, I published my own cookbook. No ghostwriting. No filters. Just me, my food, my stories, my name. Lexi's show fizzled after 2 seasons. Mine? Still cooking. And if there's one thing I learned, it's this. You can fake a lot on social media. But sooner or later, the truth bubbles up. Especially when you can't even boil water. That's the end of this saga, but it's really a beginning. Let me know if you'd like a title, a log line, or want to adapt it for a script, voiceover, or series next.